It's just a couple of weeks before FC26 releases, and we will be waving goodbye to FC25. With that, now it feels like a good time to reflect on this year's edition of FC and ask ourselves if this game really lived up to its expectations or not. This game followed up EA's opening game to its new franchise of EAFC, and it divided opinion, and there was question marks over whether EA had sold a false dream to their community that this new chapter would be a positive one for them. FC25 had promises of better gameplay, an improved career mode, a revolutionary tactical system, and a new way of playing that would be a game changer across all game modes. But I feel like the feeling around EA currently isn't a good one inside of the community, and FC25 had a mix of successes and failures to contribute to that. In this video, I'll look back at the game and all of the new features that came out for it, and review it all 1 year later. Before I start, to support my channel, a like on the video would be great, and subscribe if you haven't already, as you may never come across this channel again. So if you want to see FC26 career mode videos and content around other football games, this channel might be for you. So feel free to go check out all the other videos on my channel as well once you're done with this one. But yeah, let's jump into the video now. How I'm going to structure this is I will talk about gameplay first, and then I'm going to break down all of the main new features that came to FC25. I'm going to center this mostly around career mode, as that is primarily what I play in FC and what the channel is based around as well. I feel like I can give my best opinion on this. But with gameplay, we are going to start this off negatively. Now, there is a consensus around the FIFA/FC franchise that the game keeps getting worse. Now, I don't agree with this idea when it comes to career mode, when EA do add new features into the game every year, but maybe they just don't improve the game mode enough to the point where it feels behind of where it should be. But generally, a lot of the modes do tend to improve slightly year upon year. But what I will say with gameplay is that it is actually getting worse. Like, the animations, the graphics, the presentation are immaculate. There's no complaints. It looks fantastic. But as soon as you start playing the game, the AI in particular are just horrendous. And this game, it certainly doesn't feel any better than FIFA 17, FIFA 18, like around that time. It feels like completely broken. The main reason for this is because EA were trying to balance the gameplay between pleasing online and offline players. Now, obviously that just doesn't work because both sides of the community want two completely different ways of playing, which EA have addressed in FC26 by splitting the gameplay, which is what we needed. But unfortunately, if there's massive changes to gameplay for this year's FC game, it already tells you what you need to know about FC25 and where all of the major issues lie. And that is with the gameplay. The gameplay was so bad in FC25. Now, the good thing is when you're offline, you can use sliders to slow the game down to make sure that passes aren't as quick and ping-pongy, but there are just certain elements of the game that couldn't be fixed. For example, headed goals were just extinct in the game. Nobody could score a headed goal all year. The dribbling animations are still terrible. You've still got skatey dribbling, players turning like prime Lionel Messi, the ball going through players' feet. Honestly, dribbling has been a massive problem for FIFA and FC for many years now, since they went to the Frostbite engine. But the main issue that I have with FC25 gameplay is the AI. The AI is genuinely horrendous in this game. Like, it's been bad for a few years, but it just seems to get worse. The AI defenders don't defend. They don't react to what's going on in the pitch. If you're running through on goal, they'll either stand still or run away from you. Even AI attackers now, which weren't a huge issue in previous games, because of reasons I'll talk about later in the video, AI attackers don't make sensible runs. They make the same runs, and sometimes in certain situations, that isn't the logical thing to do. It's a real problem for this game, and it really did ruin the experience, because you can make game modes as good as you want, but if the actual gameplay itself is bad, what are we doing this for? What are we playing the game for? We'll talk about FCIQ next, because this affected all game modes, a new tactical system that came with a lot of hype, especially for career mode players, because obviously the tactical side of things in manager career is something that's important and would keep you really immersed in the game. The old tactical system wasn't terrible, but you didn't have fluid formations, which was the main thing that I think we were missing in previous games. We obviously got that in FCIQ, but for me, this fell flat as well. It's not the worst feature that's been added, and I think that FCIQ does have the potential to be better in the future. I did make a more in-depth video about this if you want to check this out after this video. But I feel like the player roles is what has affected the AI attacking players. Players just don't make sensible runs based on the game. They just make runs and put themselves in positions based on the player role that they're in. They're ultimately stuck to playing one way and one way only, which for me just isn't good for gameplay. Not only that, but you can't create formations anymore yourself. You can't drag players into new positions. You're kind of stuck to the templates that EA have put into the game. The actual UI around FCIQ as well isn't great. I just feel like, yeah, this new edition kind of fell flat, if I'm being honest. And if me as a career mode player didn't really see the benefit in this change, then I'm sure that Ultimate Team and club clubs players definitely wouldn't have either. Let's jump over to career mode. Now, the main new feature that was added was live start points. Now, this wasn't at launch, but after a couple of months into the game cycle, they started to add league tables and updated results from real life that you could jump in on career mode and start a save in all of these real life situations that were happening. So if a team was battling against relegation or a few points behind the leaders in the league, you can jump into those scenarios and basically change their season around or continue an interesting team that's going through an interesting season in real life. This was the number one feature that I wanted added into the game before FC25 was revealed, so I was really happy with this. Now, I don't think this is perfect. You know, you can't use custom squads. It is limited on only a few leagues that you can actually use this for, and it only works for the one league that you're using in your save. For example, if you're managing a Premier League team in live start points, the Championship, the Liga, Bundesliga, all those leagues won't be updated with the real life tables, which I think is a bit bizarre. So live start points isn't perfect, which is a bit annoying because it's a simple addition, but I will say this is a massive positive for career mode in my opinion. It means that the game doesn't get boring after a couple of months. You're going to be constantly updated with real life scenarios and challenges, which there's a reason why I said this was a really good feature to be added before EA announced it, and I can't really complain because I got what I wished for. It could have been implemented a little bit better, but it's only a few tweaks that EA need to make this a perfect addition and something that's really going to elevate the game mode in the future years as well. So a thumbs up for me for live start points. Let's go on to a negative here, the new menu that they put into career mode along with social media. Now, social media is inoffensive. It doesn't make the game worse. It's basically like the old news tab, but it's just reformatted to make the stories look like they've been tweeted out. But the fan replies are just completely generic and they make no sense. They just look stupid. And when you compare social media this year compared to how it was in the journey back in FIFA 17, it's just night and day, and I don't know why it's so bare bone in FC25. But social media, it doesn't make the game worse. The new UI was awful this year, to be honest with you. The way they make a big deal over changing the layouts, I don't think it's any better than previous years. And the colour scheme for this, I know we're kind of nitpicking here, like it shouldn't be a massive thing, but it was so depressing and dull. Having to look at this grey background all year, I don't get it, what EA were thinking here. Just put something a bit nicer in the background. It really improves the game mode visually. Just put like a manager's office or a locker room or the stadium in the background. It would just make things feel a lot more immersive, or just a background photo that isn't dull and depressing like this year. That was a bizarre thing for me. Women's career was added this year, and I think that's a good thing. There's going to be more and more women players in the game and people who follow that side of football. It was something that EA, realistically, it was about time that they did. I mean, women's teams have been in the game for years. I don't know why it took so long to add them into career mode, but I like that all the wages and the transfer values reflect real life as well. I wish that maybe there was different sliders for the women's game that you could add as like a preset, because the games do feel like the men's games, and women's games are more slow and more technical. So I feel like that should be emulated in the game a little bit more. The atmospheres as well should be a little bit different in my opinion, but I do think that this, again, it's a good start. Let's talk about Rush, which was added into every game mode again in FC25. Now, after the failure of Volta and everyone just getting bored of that, EA thought, you know what we'll do? We'll basically make Volta light. Let's take away all the story and the street football elements, bring out this random stadium and make another five-a-side game. I really don't get the logic in this, if I'm being honest with you. And I don't know about Ultimate Team and clubs players, if they cared about this game mode or whether they enjoyed it this year, but for career mode, this felt so thumbed in and pointless. So they added it into the youth academy so you could play Rush games with your youth team. The addition of being able to use your youth players in games, that's a really good addition. If this would have been 11 versus 11 games in like a training ground, this would have gone down really well with the community. But the Rush games, it just feels so forced. And they were supposed to boost your players if you won tournaments, you know, won games and scored lots of goals with your players. It just doesn't improve them whatsoever. There was no point in doing these games. So yeah, Rush, I kind of like shrugged my shoulders at, like, why did EA feel the need to do that? If Volta didn't work, then why are you trying Rush out? Just try and actually make Volta good if that's the route that you want to go down. Yeah, the whole thing, it was a bit baffling why they spent so much time to make this new game mode. There was a few small additions as well to career mode, like origin stories for player career, which was a decent positive that would just add a couple of subtle storylines into your save. There was more sliders and settings, which I'm an advocate for. I feel like more customization in your save in career mode is only a positive. But finally, the last point that I want to talk about is something again that affected all game modes, and I want to end this video on a positive, and that is Cranium. Cranium was the new system around player faces. So for player faces in the game that aren't officially scanned by EA, in past games they were just generic, and EA tried to make them look as close to real life as possible, but there was a few issues with that. It was a bit hit and miss. But with Cranium, it worked a bit different. They used AI to scan like photos of the players, meaning that they don't have to actually go and physically scan their faces. And for me, this is one of the best things that EA have added into their games in the last few years. I can't speak highly enough about Cranium. The difference in real life players' faces in the game is absolutely head and shoulders to previous FIFA and FC games. Nearly every single face looks really close to real life now, and I actually think that the Cranium faces aren't far off from the real scanned faces. Like if a player has a scanned face from maybe a couple of years ago, I actually think that it's better to have a Cranium face that's updated this year. I can't speak highly enough of this feature. I think there is ways that they can improve it, and I'm sure they have got different improvements in mind for Cranium in the future. Obviously, player customization is a lot more in depth now. There's a lot more options in terms of building a player face in the game, but obviously being able to scan your own face in the game, that is something that the community really wants, and I do think that that is going to be something that EA had in mind when moving over to this new system. I still think that regen faces aren't amazing. That could be improved a lot, but I feel like, again, it is something that EA probably have in mind. It was supposed to improve the faces for youth academy players, but I don't think they're that much better than in previous games. In fact, they might even be worse. So Cranium, it isn't perfect right now, but it's a huge improvement. Player faces are, at least for real players, are essentially like as good as they need to be now. I don't think EA need to really improve them that much more. If they can properly scan like the hairstyles, the beards, tattoos and things like that, I think this is really close to being the perfect addition really for this franchise. And yeah, Cranium gets a big thumbs up for me. I think overall then, looking back at the year, like I say at the start, gameplay really disappointing. We need massive improvements for FC26. FCIQ was a bit hit and miss. Rush felt a little bit like forced. Feel like that was a bit of a waste of time. The UI wasn't amazing in career mode, but on the plus side, live start points and especially Cranium were definitely big positives for the game. Now overall, was FC25 a good game? I would probably answer with it's just a bit meh in my opinion. Gameplay does impact things a lot at the end of the day. You can make brilliant game modes. If the gameplay is poor, then you're going to have a lot of issues and a lot of people complaining, and I feel like both the online and the offline communities are unhappy with the gameplay, so EA need to make drastic changes for FC26 and their future games. Let's just keep our fingers crossed on that. There's still so much that we need going forward. I feel like with FC26 there's a bit more optimism with the game, because after FC25 I just kind of felt a bit like uninspired by this franchise and kind of given up. The recent reveals have ignited a bit of hope in me, but I'm still not 100% confident with EA at this moment. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of FC25. What did you like? What did you dislike? Of course, like I say at the start of the video, if you did enjoy the video, hit a like. I'd really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, press that red subscribe button to keep in loop with all of the future content on my channel. Go and check out all my other videos if you want to see more about FC26 career mode. And finally, a personal note from me. This is the first video that I'm recording since hitting 1,000 subscribers on my channel, so I just want to thank you in a video and just use this opportunity just to express my appreciation for all of the positive comments, all of the likes, everyone who subscribed and supported the channel. I really appreciate all of it. I know this isn't a huge achievement in the grand scheme of YouTube, but for me it was the first thing that I wanted to do, and I still feel like my content has a long way to go, so I have no plans of stopping. The content will keep improving as I keep learning how to make videos, so thank you all for your patience so far. And yeah, stick around for more content because I've got plenty of exciting ideas coming up. And yeah, thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.